Mayor Wheeler, thank you for joining us. First of all, let me tell you how sorry I am to hear about your mother, and this has got to be a really difficult night for you.
It is, and to be clear, I'm not with her. I'm with family members. She is dying, and we are preparing and planning for the next step for her. This is obviously hard. It's very personal for me, but so is watching my city get destroyed. And so I am returning to Portland. I'll be available for an early morning press conference. I expect to hold a press conference with a number of people, and I'm also going to walk MLK tomorrow morning and visit some of the businesses that have been impacted.
Mayor, have you been watching some of our coverage online? Have you seen what's been happening right now at Pioneer Place with the looting at the Louis Vuitton store?
Yeah, I haven't been watching TV, but I have been actively engaged with PPB and my staff. I've been getting regular updates, and here's what I see. This morning started out with such beautiful and heartfelt tributes to George Floyd. And what we have right now is something completely different. This is a riot. It's a full-on riot. We see people burning cars. We see people damaging businesses, large and small, including some businesses, I believe, which are owned by local African-American business owners. We're seeing looting. What I see here does not honor in any way the legacy of George Floyd. This is something completely different. And threatening and physically hurting each other doesn't honor George Floyd or any other black person who should not have died. And what we're witnessing is the dismantling of our beloved communities in Portland, in Atlanta, in Minneapolis. Enough. This isn't us. This does not reflect our community. And to the people who are still out on the streets engaged in this behavior, my message to you is go home. You are doing nobody a favor. You are not helping George Floyd's memory. You are not acting in the legacy of Martin Luther King or Gandhi or anyone else who believed in peaceful demonstration and protest. At this point, it has become a flat-out riot. Go home.
This it would be hurtful to see at any time, but is it more difficult to watch when we're in the middle of this crisis, this pandemic that we're all going through together?
The people who are out on the streets right now engaging in this illegal and reckless and in some cases even potentially violent behavior, they are engaged in an act of pure selfishness. This no longer has anything to do with the peaceful demonstrations around George Floyd, which so many people engaged in such a really beautiful and communal and heartfelt way this morning. What's going on right now is just flat out breaking the law, violating our community, violating the memory of George Floyd and so many other people on such an important night. And I have had enough. The community's had enough, and we're telling those individuals, go home.
What discussions do you think you'll have with the Portland police?
Well, I'm having regular discussions with the police. They have shown great restraint throughout the day. I was very pleased with the statement that the Portland Police Bureau and Chief Resch put out earlier today and yesterday. They were very discreet with regard to their presence earlier today, but they also made it clear that if some people started to engage in acts of violence or vandalism, they would be prepared to react. I don't think anybody anticipated that there would be this scale. As your reporter just said, after many, many years on the streets in Portland, nobody's seen this kind of just brazen abuse of what was supposed to be a night of memory for somebody who was killed by a police force. Now it's turned out to be something completely different. This is rioting. This is looting. This is violence. This is vandalism. And that's not what Portland is about. The people who are engaging in these activities are engaging in something that's absolutely contrary to the city that I know, the city that I grew up in, the city that I've raised my daughter in. They're engaged in something completely different. And so I am asking them, in fact, I am demanding that they go home.
Because we haven't seen anything like this, I've been reporting here for 20 years, anything to this scale. Do you have any explanation for it? Why it got so out of hand?
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunity in the days and weeks ahead to go back and do the analysis. But right now, frankly, I'm not interested in the analysis. What I'm interested in is preserving and protecting my community for the vast majority of people who have a right not to be exposed to violence and vandalism and the kind of thievery that we're seeing on our streets right now. And so the police bureau is engaged. They're doing their level best to stop the activities that they're seeing at Pioneer Square, the Justice Center. Even on MLK, people went down 20 blocks of MLK and engaged in acts of vandalism against many businesses that are actually owned and operated by black people in our community. So for people to be honoring George Floyd in that manner is disgusting. It's reprehensible. It's contrary to the values that so many amazing Portlanders expressed earlier today in such a beautiful and collective manner this morning at the demonstrations. But what led to it, I don't know. I guess some people, a small handful of people, relative to the total number of people who came out to peacefully demonstrate this morning, they saw an opportunity to sneak in and use this as an opportunity to engage in acts of violence and vandalism. And I'll tell you, this is completely contrary to the philosophy of peaceful demonstration. It flies in the face of the teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. It flies in the face of the teachings of Gandhi. It is completely contrary to the values of Portland and Portlanders that I know and the people that I have spent my entire life with. This is not our community. This is not what we are about. And the activities that our people are engaged in right now in the middle of the night is just flat out violation of the law. And it is reprehensible, and it has nothing to do with honoring George Floyd.
In your tweet, you said you'd be talking with community leaders. What's your message to them?
My message to them is that we have a lot of rebuilding to do. There is a lot of hurt out there as a result of the murder of George Floyd. There is tremendous distrust of government in general and policing in particular, particularly amongst communities of color and especially amongst black Americans, black Portlanders. And we're going to have to be extremely aggressive going forward in rebuilding that trust. And I know I can't do that alone. Nobody can do that alone. We've got to do this as a community. And I've got to say, I'm really appreciative of people reaching out to me this evening. Edie Mondene, Matt Hennessy, Nakenge Harmon Johnson. So many people have gotten in contact with me this evening to share their thoughts and their ideas and their support for our collective community. I remain very hopeful. But tonight the goal is to shut this thing down before any more damage is done to our community. And I want the people who are breaking those windows, burning those cars, stealing those goods, to understand they are really harming people. They are harming the people who work in those stores. They are harming the people, the men and women who own those small businesses that they've damaged. Who do they think is going to pay for that? The people whose cars they have destroyed. It is callous. It is selfish. And it's unconscionable. And so, I want them to go home, and the police are going to do everything they can to disperse them as quickly as possible. And as you know, at this point, it is not a demonstration anymore. It is a full-on riot, and the police are going to address it accordingly.
Will you push for aggressive prosecution of the people involved that caused vandalism?
Damn right. Yes, absolutely. I have said from the day I took office as mayor of this city that I would not tolerate violence or vandalism in the name of any political agenda. And I don't care what your political philosophy is. If you're engaged in violence or vandalism to get your way, that is not the Portland way. That's not the American way. That is not the kind of of activity that comports well in a democracy. And so, yes, we will absolutely prosecute those individuals. Now, I'll be clear, I don't make that decision. That's a decision made by the district attorney, and he doesn't necessarily connect with me on what prosecutions he decides to take or not. But absolutely, I would encourage and push for and advocate for the full prosecution of people who are engaged in this riotous activity tonight in Portland, Oregon, because the people of this community stand unified in opposing this kind of violence and vandalism. We're done with it.
Well,
We've had enough.
I know it's hard for the community to watch. We've been broadcasting this for over an hour and a half now, and really tough for people at home to be seeing what's happening to our city. Mayor, I know you have to be back here early in the morning for your press conference, and you're with your family and making plans for your dying mother, but do you have a final thought you'd like to share with us tonight?
Yeah, the city will get through this. It is my hope that by tomorrow morning we will have this all cleared up. I expect to be back in Portland by 3 or 4 a.m. and have a press conference shortly thereafter. But the damage is going to last. And what I want the people engaged in this damage to understand is the damage isn't to me, and the damage isn't to the police bureau, and the damage isn't to the government. The damage is to the employees, many of whom are low-income workers who will not be able to go to work because the businesses that they work in have been destroyed, or the automobiles that they use either in their jobs or to get to their work have been destroyed, or because the goods that were in the business that they used to own and operate have now been stolen. So this hurts the very people that they often say they want to help the most, the people who are the most vulnerable, the people who are hurt the most by this COVID crisis and its economic results, the people who've been impacted the most with the lopsided nature of wages in our economy. They're the ones who are going to get hurt the most by this. And as a community, we've got to come together and say, look, we've had it. We're done with this kind of thing. And do whatever we can to come together as a community to prevent it from happening in the future.
Well, Mayor Wheeler, thank you so much for joining us on the telephone tonight during what's a difficult time for your family and for this city. And we send our prayers and thoughts to your mom and your family and to yourself. And we look forward to hearing from you tomorrow as you address this riot in downtown Portland tonight following the death of George Floyd. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and well, one other thing. I hope people will join me in supporting the businesses that have been impacted tonight. I'm going to go down MLK tomorrow, but a lot of businesses have been impacted, and I hope Portlanders will rally around them and help support those businesses that have been hit tonight.
Well, especially on that note, because we already feel so much for our businesses that have been hurt during this economic crisis.
We're bailing.
Mayor Wheeler, thanks again.